Hello there, my name's Tim Walter. I'm a house healer and an alternative life coach. And today I want to welcome you to Monday Moments. This is the program each week where I try to answer directly questions that you've sent to me. This week I've got a question from Pieter, and Pieter is talking about the fact that he's been looking into technopathic stress, and he wants to know more about the Hartmann and Curry grids. Now, I'm not a great grid man, as it were, so I haven't really looked into these grids in great detail, but what I believe to be the case is that the Hartmann and the Curry grids, which are geometric grids which surround the planet, they are probably created through resonance as the Earth spins through space. And what we know is that there is a term called cymatics. If you Google cymatics, you'll see that what cymatics is the way that we can get geometrical patterns formed through sound. Obviously, the Earth makes subsonic sounds all the time. We just can't perceive them by any stretch of the imagination. And the Hartmann grids and the Curry grids, these are either going to be in the magnetic field, which I believe the Hartmann grid is described to be, or even, in the actual field of the quantum field of existence. So there would be geometrical patterns set up within that, which would be dowsable if we're looking for them. Hartmann, that discovered that first grid, he did say that he thought that the crossing points would be detrimental to human health. Whether that's true or not completely, I would say is open to debate. For sure, it's not going to be the case for everybody, because in all of this stuff, we have to look at our individual nature of existence. The way that we respond to everything around us is unique to each of us. So we could have a whole bunch of people sitting in one room that is subjected to Hartmann grid or the Curry grid, and not everybody is going to react to that energy in exactly the same way. We accept that. So do look at some of the other videos on my channel, because there's one in particular called Verifying Subjective Experience, which will help you understand when you come across new information on a website or in a book as to whether or not you want to go along with it, whether it resonates with you or not. The trouble with a lot of this subtle energy stuff is that actually we can't put the scientific method, we can't use scientific terms, we can't be objective, purely objective about a lot of this stuff. So we have to go with our gut, with our individual unique response to it. Obviously, where everybody is able to perceive something like the Hartmann grid, then there's a level of objectivity within it. But what I'm talking about here is the really useful action of coming across that grid and finding that grid is to then ask the question of, well, what can I do with it? How can I adjust it? If it's detrimental to me, how can I change it so that it is no longer detrimental to me? And of course, the way to do that is to use focused intent or whatever method you wish to use in order to create wellness for yourself. You can adjust these grids with focused intent. And this is a standard practice in house healing. The grids are a sort of subheading on a section that I would use in the house healing protocol that I go through. They can be adjusted, and there are other videos on YouTube that illustrate dowsers, in particular, adjusting those grids. It's not really adjusting the external objective grid, it's more about adjusting the way the person, the individual, reacts to the energy of the grid. Hope that makes some kind of sense. As you explore all of this stuff, if you've found that you've got a healing method within your own experience, then what I suggest is that you really look at building that relationship to your intuitive self, to understanding your connection and your path that you might want to follow or you feel drawn to follow, so that you can, in helping others, you'll do it with the most success. It is not an easy path, but it is certainly one that is worth pursuing, because we know that we need all the help we can get, basically, at the moment. Now, what I always say is that this work is about balancing the subjective experience of life with the objective experience of life. So this is not about dismissing logical reasoning. This is about actually bringing into alignment logical reasoning and process and a discipline within that process in alignment with the subjective, freer thinking, illogical processes sometimes, because we cannot function in this world as human beings purely from logic. We know that. And sometimes we get wound up and held by our own logical thinking. Don't get too frustrated about trying to find the specific logical answers, the definitive, objective answers to what you're looking for. Ask questions of your intuitive self. I recommend doing this with dowsing because that develops your intuitive connection to the management, which is part of reality. So ask questions of, what does this mean to me? You've discovered the grids. You've discovered the grids for yourself, where, how they interact with you, and you've discovered a way of healing, working with them, and working with these energies, and therefore ask of yourself and of the situation, what does this mean? What can you do with it? How can you work with them? And verify in those senses. So don't worry so much about what is it. When I first started to work with earth energy, and in fact, it's very apparent in my first video that I did with Hamish Miller, my mentor, The Spirit of the Serpent. We worked with earth energy. We were talking about this thing called earth energy, but we couldn't define what earth energy is, and we still can't define what earth energy is. So the sort of grids that I'm talking about generally that are not Hartmann and Curry grids, they're not these geometrical grids. They're about a more free-flowing aspect of what we assume to be the quantum field of existence that we can pick up on. They're subtle aspects of it. These are non-structured. They have their own structure, but it's free-form. It's not geometrical in that sense that the Curry and the Hartmann grids are. And we don't know what that is, but we know we can work with it and we can see responses to it. So it has its own kind of consciousness, if you like. So what I'm saying to you is work with whatever you are drawn to work with and ask the questions of it. Not so much, don't be frustrated and sidetracked by asking the question of what is it definitively. Ask what can you do with it? How can you work with it? How does it bring benefit? Okay? So that really is my point, and I hope that helps. And to everybody, today is Christmas Eve, and whether you're a Christian and celebrate the festival of Christmas in that way or not, whatever your faith is, I wish you a very happy holidays, a very happy time over the coming days. And I know it can be a tough time for people, and I know obviously that we've got some influence from Mother Earth in Indonesia at the moment. And I think that is a reflection of the state of our mental awareness, our mental being, our mental state at this time of year. It can be quite stressful, and I think personally, although it might be nuts, I think personally that is what's being demonstrated. The earth goes, ugh, and a lot of people get hurt. So my thoughts are with those people, but also with each of you that I am hoping are safe and well, and I hope that you can enjoy the festive season. So my best to you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.